Welcome to CPAC Now, America Uncanceled. I'm Mercedes Schlapp, and we're getting close to CPAC. Make sure you get your tickets. Go to cpac.org, February 21st to the 24th here in Washington, D.C. Yes, that's right, the swamp. But I got to tell you, I read some breaking news today, and I couldn't believe it. And I wanted to bring in this incredible reporter, Meg Brock, reporter for the Daily Caller News Foundation, just wrote a piece. Trans medical org speaker blames hate groups. That's right, hate groups. And guess who the hate groups are? Christian nationalism for backlash against child sex changes. Meg, thanks for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
So I want to jump right in with this video. You were able to obtain some information and some of these videos, and we're going to break that down. But first, let's hear from Paula Nira, who identifies as a transgender woman and is the program director of LGBTQ equity and education at Johns Hopkins Medicine.
We cannot get around the conversation about religiosity and politics and the impact this has on transgender health. Not just transgender healthcare, but all of the policies that impact the social determinants of health. And the battlefield is going to be on the issue of religious liberty, because that is the argument that is used by those who want to be exempt from non-discrimination legislation that benefits providing care and services to the transgender community. You know, nationalism, and in the United States, particularly Christian nationalism, is what is behind this slew of state-based legislation. It's the alliance for partisan political reasons, with organizations that profess to be Christian, but are in fact anti-LGBTQ hate groups as labeled by the Southern Poverty Law Center, putting together to try to impose a particular worldview that does not include the transgender community in it.
So Meg, you uncovered this. You walk us through the process and tell us what you learned.
Yeah, so through a public records request, I obtained a group of recordings from WPATH education sessions. So I've been going through these recordings. The WPATH, if people don't know what that is a transgender medical organization that's very influential in the U.S. and the world. And so this recording that clip is from was a session about legal policy that's going on throughout the world, but also the U.S. And so in that video, it was discussed the efforts throughout the states in America. So we had like Ohio, for example, recently passing a bill to stop pediatric sex reassignment, and was describing those bills as kind of targeting transgender youth, which I would say they're protecting kids from, some of these procedures that involve removing healthy body organs and potentially ending their fertility. And so the suggestion was that the movement behind these bills is basically faith-based organizations, quote unquote Christian nationalism, which I just know from meeting a lot of people who are really working to stop this, that there's a wide variety of people. One of the people that was quoted in the article spoke about how this has been a very unifying issue for people from all religions, some people who aren't religious, people who are on all different realms of the political spectrum, who are just working together to try and protect kids.
Yeah, including doctors and scientists that understand that this could be incredibly harmful, these sex changes for minors. I thought it was just shocking when I read this article on the fact that you have this program director literally calling out, we refer them as faith-based organizations, calling it Christian nationalism, which is, I think, such the language of the left. It's the language of the Marxists. What type of groups do you think they were referring to?
Yeah, well, the person who was giving the presentation also wrote a paper, 2021, it was published, where it described several groups, including Family Research Council, Liberty Council, Alliance Defending Freedom, calling them basically hate groups as labeled by the Southern Poverty Law Center. Now, I know that there's been a lot of conversation about the Southern Poverty Law Center, and even allegations that they're using this label of hate group to target conservatives without anyone even really understanding how you get that label, other than you have an opinion they disagree with. I think for a lot of conservative organizations, it's almost becoming a badge of honor that you're doing something right at this point.
Yeah, we're seeing that. And part of this paper that was called Under Attack, Transgender Health in 2020, it's interesting. They don't talk about how they're attacking the children. They're just saying that transgender, quote unquote, health is being attacked. Literally, there's a quote that says, these organizations, meaning these what they call hate groups, are designated as anti-LGBTQ hate groups by the Southern Poverty Law Center for their continued defamation, intentional misinformation, and willful intellectual dishonesty about the transgender people. Let's talk about this misinformation. So they're okay, this World Professional Association for Transgender Health, to provide misinformation to the parents saying, hey, your kid's going to be okay if they get a sex change. Yet they're calling these organizations, these center-right organizations, as the ones disseminating misinformation. You learned something very interesting, and we talked about this on the show a couple weeks ago, of how these that even medical doctors have come out concerned, these medical professionals concerned about the literally the physical problems that many of these children have following sex changes, and how unknown this whole area is. Walk us through that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that it's been long established throughout human history that there are two sexes, male and female. And it's quite interesting that we're living in a time where that's even debatable. So, when you talk about people who are working to stop the pediatric sex reassignment, I mean, it includes a lot of scientists who are just saying, hey, this is really bad science to say we have to pretend that you can be all these other sexes that don't exist. So, I mean, that's step one, is that we have those facts. And then, the other part of that is that if you're telling someone they have to believe that, you're really compelling their thoughts. And a lot of people within the Christian, Jewish, other faiths have a very firm belief that there are two sexes, there are male and female. And so the idea that expressing that could somehow be hateful or harmful, to your point, when you're talking about these procedures, I mean, that's kind of going to the next level of this, is that we don't know. I mean, we had talked about puberty blockers and about how they don't know how this is impacting brain development. Yeah. A lot of these kids are being placed on puberty blockers as young as 8, and they may never be able to conceive a child. I mean, so all of that is based in reality, and I think those things are very alarming. So the idea that raising the red flag about this is somehow hateful, I mean, I just don't understand that.
Now, there was a quote, you tweeted this out. This gets back into the whole area where the battlefield is set up as this fight between what religious liberty means and what it means to provide care to the LGBTQ plus community in a non-discriminatory way. They talk about the community, but this is really about protecting children, which is the argument that, those in the faith-based organizations and those that just simply want to protect children, that's the argument that they're making. Do you think, as we're seeing this, we've seen court decisions basically protecting the right of these religiously affiliated health professionals, but I mean, is this where it's going to all end up, in the courts?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people, obviously we have the part of the medical procedure. So doing the double mastectomies or putting children on these medications that could end their fertility. And we all know that we need to stop that, which we do. But I don't know that everyone's thinking about the larger picture, about the larger potential religious liberty violations that could occur. I mean, for example, there is a proposed regulation with the U.S. Department of Education where they want to change Title IX and basically force schools who are accepting federal funds to have to recognize males in female sports or be accused of discrimination. And so you think about how that could happen anywhere. That could happen at a church. That could happen at a place of work. And if this ideology is codified. So anytime you see people saying about the word gender identity, that basically means that they want it to be discriminatory if you don't recognize the gender they feel like they are.
Do we know? Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, I think that then how that comes to people of different faiths who believe explicitly that there are two sexes, male and female, this could actually become a very serious issue of recognizing religious liberty.
Do we know who's behind this World Professional Association for Transgender Health? Do we know anything about them other than they're just obviously building this massive type of influential organization?
I mean, I know it's an organization that's been around for a long time, and it contains a lot of different professionals from around the world. I think that obviously, as this ideology has really kind of gained cultural momentum, then their influence has gained. But I think that I have been looking into it, but I think there's a lot more to understand about the organization.
Well, your reporting has been excellent in this area. Thank you for uncovering so much of this craziness now that this organization is now going after Christian groups, basically targeting many of us as Christian nationalists. So keep us posted. We're going to keep covering it here at CPAC Now. Meg Brock, reporter for the Daily Caller News Foundation, thank you for being on our show.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
And guys, don't forget to get your tickets for CPAC at cpac.org. We still have a great special going on. We've got great speakers, and it's going to be, I got to tell you, it's going to bring everybody together. It's where the globalism will go to die. And join us in the Freedom Revolution at CPAC. Again, go to cpac.org, and remember to keep watching and give us your feedback. We'd love to know if there's anything you're really hot about in these topics, which I know we're covering and we're going to keep covering as we get into this crazy election year. God bless, and thanks for watching.